Hey there, welcome to Studio 5. We've got a great lineup ahead. We're sitting down with a film director who's bringing hope to a community. A television producer joins us to share his journey from gangster to grace. And then an actor, Dennis Quaid, gives us a first look at the life of President Ronald Reagan as he takes the starring role in the film. We begin this half hour with the countdown, though, of the top 5 stories in the world of uplifting entertainment for this week. Here are the first 2. At number 5.
I'd like to present the 2024 National Championship Trophy to Coach Don Staley and the South Carolina Gamecocks.
It's all cheers and congratulations to the Gamecocks coach and players after winning their second national championship in 5 years Sunday.
Before I do anything, I gotta give honor to the Most High God for allowing us to be back at the same place in which we had sad tears. And I just want you to know that the God I serve, when he closes a door, he opens up a door that's giving you unimaginable success. This is uncommon favor.
At number 4.
This is a moment I want to take to thank the fans for everything they have done for me. I want to thank God. I want to thank my beautiful wife and my daughter at home.
A quick flashback to the latest round of entertainment awards handed out Sunday.
CMT handed out its awards in a star-studded ceremony in Austin. That included appearances by Melissa Etheridge and Emma Roberts. It also included a tribute to the late Toby Keith, performed by Brooks and Dunn, Lainey Wilson, and Sammy Hagar.
It's important that I stand up here tonight and represent those that are looking for second chances. The kids back in the Metro Davidson County Juvenile Detention Facility, the kids down here in the Austin Juvenile Detention Facility are watching this tonight. I'm cheering y'all boys on. You can be this guy. You can change. You can turn it around. I promise you can, baby. I once heard a man say that you don't change until the pain to remain the same is greater than the pain it takes to change, and that's what it takes. I love you, Texas.
Those are the first 2 stories in this week's countdown. Now to a Studio 5 first look at the film The Hopeful. It is the inspiring true story of a 19th century community learning what it means to trust Jesus. And it is the start of a new worldwide movement of faith. The film's director and producer, Kyle Portberry, gives us a closer look at the film.
Obey his word and believe. There is no time for delay.
I believe the Bible is clear. Jesus will return in but 4 short years.
How was this film personal for you? I understand it was. What happened?
For me, when I got the opportunity to tell their story, I looked at it and I went, well, you've got to personalize it, right? Like, who are these people, and would I have wanted to, A, spend time with them, and also how do I relate to them? Are they relatable? Is there a way that I can find that makes them people just like me?
This is not the first time the end of the world has been prophesied by a fool, nor will it be the last.
They argue with each other. They get mad at each other. They get upset. They feel damaged and hurt from time to time. They're elated by things that they're doing or involved in. And so all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, I can tell this story now, right? These are people that I get.
If you do not renounce these radical ideas, you will not be welcome here in this house of worship.
You suddenly realize that what they locked into, which for them was the character of Christ, right? Like, they saw a different picture of his character than what they were seeing in the preaching or the world around them. This is an era called the Great Awakening in American history. It's largely been forgotten. However, when you look at it, you realise that actually there's very big similarities between the early 1800s and right now.
That said, who do you think you most relate to in this story? Which character?
I think Elizabeth, the sister, you know, because, and we'd all like to think we would be the heroic figures like Miller or Ellen in this story. But the sister, I think, to me, represents who we're probably most likely to be, which is given the circumstances of disappointment around us, it's always easier to give up and just go, oh, forget this.
This was only the beginning of our journey.
Her visions do not come from God. But my friends, she speaks with great tenderness of the word of the Lord.
I always think, I think it's easy to assume that we would be the people who hold on and persevere. I think it's really important to realise that you have the capacity for the opposite.
I come before you today to tell you that I have been shown in vision. Father Miller's message was light. The Advent people were traveling on a path toward a bright and holy city.
For people coming to this story blind and not necessarily of faith, how would you describe William Miller? Who is he?
He's a fascinating guy, right? Like, he goes off to the War of 1812 and he has this experience where a shell lands in the middle of his company, kills everybody around him, but not him. And he does that classic thing that we would all do in that situation, and he goes, why me? Mm-hmm. What happened, in his own words, is he found a friend in Jesus. It's that he didn't give up trying to discover why him.
There were people who didn't listen and they fell off the path.
I really believe this doctrine which you preach. I was lost, and now I'm found.
What's your hope for the hopeful?
The people will walk out feeling that they can offer that same hope and healing that they see in the film and through the characters in their own sphere of influence, in their own part of the world. And I think that that's, to me, the contribution that those characters made. You know, like Ellen, for example, the Smithsonian Institution tagged her in 2014 when they put out their last 100 most influential Americans of all time. Wow. And they've not updated it again since. So she was one of those 100 people. Not that you need to aspire to that, but I think what that suggests is that if you persevere, even in your own little area of the world, there is an impact for good and a hope that you can bring and a healing that you can offer, which, if all it does is make someone go, why are you like that?
We must follow the word of God over the rule of men.
Non-Christians expect Christians to be judgmental, and God is going to get you for those things, you know. What would happen if we walked out of the cinema and we gave them the opposite of that? I think that's my hope for the hopeful, is that we'll be inspired to offer hope and healing to others.
We feel love. The love of Jesus. It lifts us up. It carries us forward. And it will guide us home.
The Hopeful is in theaters nationwide for 2 nights only, April 17th and 18th.
Still ahead.
So from Gangster to Grace, your crazy life. How crazy was life for Mondo?
Man. You talk about dodging death. You talk about shootings every day. You talk about stabbings. You talk about partying. You talk about the extreme. Survival has no pause movements. It's always going, always dodging, always moving, always on the edge of something happening.
Former gangster Mondo de la Vega talks about his crazy life on the streets and how he survived and found grace. At number 3, and away from the court, the NBA's Steph Curry has penned his second children's book.
I Am Extraordinary tells the story of a girl named Zoe. She feels self-conscious about wearing hearing aids, but with the help of friends, she learns the power of being different and joins her school soccer team.
Coming off of the first book, I Have a Superpower, trying to create amazing storytelling for kids that can inspire confidence and them embracing how unique they are. And with Zoe's story, her hearing aids being something that she has to deal with on a daily basis, the confidence to walk into any room and embrace who she is, I think it'll hopefully inspire kids to love who they are.
At number 2.
I probably should let you go. I'm just missing you right now. There's no telling how.
We've been backstage with the Grammy Award-winning duo for King and Country, and now we're getting the backstory for the Smallbone Boys and their entire family.
How y'all doing?
Are y'all from England?
Australia. Australia. Wish I had an accent.
Unsung Hero hits the big screen April 26th.
Dad, I wrote a song. Thought maybe we could ask for an audition.
Oh, that's great, honey. Let's take it one step at a time.
With a look at life before the music, before the charts, before the tours, before the fans, and before the success.
Kay tells me you're a promoter. You know someone looking for one. Well, I may know somebody who should be.
She's been given a beautiful voice. It's a miracle.
She's a special one, son. Your family, they're not in the way. They are the way.
There's now just one more story to share in this week's countdown of the top 5 uplifting stories in entertainment. We'll bring you that in just a few minutes. Right now, we're sitting down with Mondo de la Vega. Mondo suffered abuse and witnessed violence in his childhood, which led him to the streets of LA as a gangster. In his book, My Crazy Life, he shares his journey from gangster to grace. So from gangster to grace, your crazy life. How crazy was life for Mondo?
Man. You talk about dodging death. You talk about shootings every day. You talk about stabbings. You talk about partying. You talk about the extreme. I think when you understand what survival looks like, survival has no pause moments. It's always going, always dodging, always moving, always on the edge of something happening. And that was my life.
So was that in Central America or was that in LA?
That's in LA. That's in LA. Central America was a little different. My father beat my mother, and I'm a 6-year-old little boy watching my hero beat my mother close to death, and I'm there paralyzed in fear, not knowing how to help my mother, and our world fell apart within hours. From that moment, my mother said, either I stay and he's gonna kill me, or I'm gonna kill him, or I leave and I gotta get my kids out of here.
And what does that open the door to when you do get to LA? What does that?
You know, that opens the door to release the anger. That's why the book is titled My Crazy Life. Mi vida loca, my crazy life, where the destiny, the road that the gang culture was leading me to, yet at 8 years old, I was already willing to pay the price for it. 8, 9, and 10, I was being lured in. By the time I'm 11, I'm getting jumped in by 6 guys. My mother was waiting to get a phone call to say, hey, your son is dead. Because every other mother was getting that phone call. Life was getting tough.
What opens the door to grace?
I'm inside of a lowrider, and we're getting ready to go do a hit. But before that, I'm waiting for a page because I'm getting ready to be promoted. And all of a sudden, there's a turmoil happening inside of this lowrider. We get into this battle, and I write about it in my book. He snatched the pager off, walks to the payphone. When he walks to the payphone, all I hear is bullets ringing. And I look back and I realized that should have been me. And I knew, wait a minute, I thought we were down for one another. This ain't right. Somebody's coming after me. That hit was for me.
Yeah.
That in the streets we call that in 187. Yet my sister's praying for me at the same time.
Yeah.
We're living in the same household. She never condemned me. She never said, "You going to hell, you sinner." Never once. My sister walks in and delivers 3 of the most powerful words I've heard until that moment that were the catalyst. That walks in and says, what if God is real? What if prayer works? And what if you have a different destiny? She was the only one that had the courage to walk into my world. And I write about it because most people forget that when God gives you a word, you're afraid to share it because of what people are going to think around you. But yet, when it's your own family, when it's your brother, my sister said, my brother ain't going to die. Not like this. And she walks in, deliver this word. She said, you know, Mondo, God spoke to me that before this year is over, God was going to save you. Save me from what? Yes, she said, why don't you come on Saturday night? There's a preacher that's going to be giving his testimony. Can you come? I said, Laura, I said, you don't understand. I can't be seen in the church. Come on, man, you got to do it. Just walk in, and if you don't like it, just leave.
I love it.
She had a tenacity, and and still does.
What would you say to the young boy if you could go back?
Oh, man. My conversion to Christianity was not on that church service when the preacher said, hey, you want to come down and get saved and be prayed on and da-da-da. That was a great moment because it gave me the ability to understand that what I was looking for, I found that night, which was love and peace. Yet the next day, Ephraim, what happened was that I showed up to a meeting where I needed to tell my homeboys what happened the night before. And they greeted me, not with a party this time, with a shotgun in my back, a pistol on my forehead, and a pistol on my chest, and said, where were you last night, homie? So why would I tell that little boy? Don't fear nobody. I was scared of being loved. I was scared to find hope, to feel happy, to be joyful, to be accepted for the fact that I've been accepted for who I was.
Mondo de la Vega's book, My Crazy Life, is available wherever you purchase your reading material. We need to take a quick break, but as we do, it's time to share this week's story in pictures. Here's your Studio 5 snapshot for this week.
We salute and celebrate a pioneer and legend, actor Louis Gossett Jr. He won the Academy Award for his performance in An Officer and a Gentleman. He played a drill instructor and was the first black performer to win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He earned an Emmy for his work in the groundbreaking miniseries Roots. His career spans decades, making his Broadway debut when he was just 17 and still in high school. He died at age 87, and this look at his life in pictures is this week's Studio 5 Snapshot. Still ahead.
I'm City Girl, Ronnie. Can I call you Ronnie?
Sounds pretty good coming from you.
We take a look at the film Reagan, depicting the life of our 40th president. You play Ronald Reagan.
Yep. Yes, I did. Well, yes.
I was hoping you'd give me the voice.
At number 1.
Let me ask you something. Are they any good? Nope.
It's a new film for the very busy Dennis Quaid.
So is this a story of faith, love, and second chances?
Yes, it is. Seems to be a theme in my life, and sometimes third and fourth and fifth.
I don't want to be a babysitter to a bunch of juvenile delinquents who just want to get out of detention.
Based on a true story and set in 1955, The Long Game is the story of 5 young Mexican-American caddies who love golf, with the determination to learn the game that inspires them to create their own course in the middle of the South Texas desert.
You boys built all this.
Yes, Mr. Mitchell. Sorry, boys. When we spoke on the phone, I assumed you were American.
Well, you assume right.
The Long Game releases Friday.
Now, these teams, they've had access to a lot of things you boys haven't. But the best golfer isn't the one with the fanciest clubs. It's the one who can summon the will to keep swinging when things get tough. And that's you boys.
Welcome back to Studio 5. The story of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan, hits the big screen this summer. The biopic follows his journey from childhood to an acting career to a life in politics and the prize of the presidency. Actor Dennis Quaid has the starring role.
I am signing copies of my new record, Fallen.
Find something that you love to do and figure out a way to get paid for it.
Who was the best pilot I ever saw?
Kids out here, they're never going to get old. They're out of shape. I don't need you filling him full of false hope. He's my son.
You've been at this now for a few decades. You seem to be busier now than ever.
That's because I still love it. I just really enjoy it. Probably because I'm not trying to get anywhere with it. You know, as far as words or, you know, fame or money or whatever it is, I have the luxury of being doing things because I love it, and you know that's the best there is. And God's been really great to me that way.
Action!
I have a confession to make.
Oh, really? What's that?
I don't ride horses.
Really?
You play Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, well, yes.
I was hoping you'd give me the voice.
You know, is getting the voice and getting that right, and because everybody does a Reagan impression.
And that a lot of people think that it's already come out, but it's because we did it, 3 years ago?
Dennis Quaid as President Ronald Reagan in the upcoming biopic Reagan. The film has been shrouded in secrecy and in the works for 3 years.
I'm really proud of it, and he was my favorite president, and the first one I really voted for, and so I had to overcome that to play him, because you want to get into who somebody was. And Reagan was, in a way, unknowable, even to those who were really close to him, I think. And I think Nancy was the two of them. She knew him better than anybody. And it's a love story in a way, but it takes a story from Dixon, Illinois as a boy, all the way to where he said goodbye to the American people in his letter after he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. An incredible man.
Beautiful. What's Dennis Quaid most grateful for now?
I'm still grateful to just be here. I really am. I'm just so grateful for for the joy in life, and just I've undeservedly said so many times that I've had such a wonderful life, and I really thank God for that.
Reagan is set to premiere in theaters August 30th. Welcome back to Studio 5. Music helps us to bring you this show each and every single week, and this week's soundtrack comes from a personal favorite, Samara Joy. Take a listen and you will hear why Lush Life is what's playing in my ear this week.
I thought for a while that your poignant smile was tinged with the sadness of a great love for me. Ah, yes, I was wrong.
What a voice. On that musical note, we are just about out of time for this week's edition of Studio 5. So let's take a moment and look ahead to see what's in store on next week's rundown.
These children were brought over to England in 1939. That's 49 years ago, from Prague in Czechoslovakia.
It's the true story of Sir Nicholas Winton, who rescued more than 600 children from the impending grip of Nazis. Sir Anthony Hopkins is in the starring role.
He was mortified knowing that they would all go to concentration camps. So he decided, heroically, without any fanfare, to rescue as many as he could.
We are working to evacuate these children by train to safety in Britain.
Why are you doing this, Mr. Winton?
In this Studio 5 special, we take a closer look at the film and talk to members of the cast and its director.
Be sure and join us for that story and so much more come next week. As for this week, we've got time for just one more thing. We want to give that to Kyle Portberry. He's got our final word.
We're going through this real upheaval period where the character of Christ is a little bit on judgment itself, right? Like there's a lot of opportunity for Christians to do exactly what non-Christians expect them to do, which is judge them. But there's also a massive opportunity for us to do what they're not expecting, which is to just offer hope and healing in a world that, when you look around it at the moment, is desperately in need of it.
And that is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back. See where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye.